So, the West Ham board have given David Moyes the vote of confidence, and I think it's a good thing. I think they did absolutely the right thing. And I don't think it's the dreaded vote of confidence. You know, it gets labelled that, the dreaded vote of confidence. What does that mean? Well, it's a bit like winning Manager of the Month awards. There's a sort of bit of superstition that gets attached to that, which is win Manager of the Month awards and you get sacked. The dreaded vote of confidence, that is basically what the chairman comes out and says just before he sacks you, which is the club have absolute faith in Manager X, Joe Bloggs, whatever it may be. In this case, it's David Moyes. But I don't believe that's what's happening. I do believe that Gold Sullivan definitely would like to give David Moyes more time. In fact, scrap that. They will give David Moyes more time. However, the purpose of this video is to really look into the fact it probably ain't that simple. There's a few more dynamics at play here, which I'm going to go and explain to you in just a second. Before I do, let me basically read more or less what has been leaked. Shall we say that? Officially, unofficially. Which is that David Moyes' job is 100% safe. The board is 100% certain that there is no one else more capable than him of turning things around and at the club, and he'll be given plenty of time to prove them right. Now, it's sort of in my nature to start picking apart the words, particularly the plenty of time, but I'm not going to do that because I think it's sincere. And I think when something's sincere, it's probably not worth digging around and looking for a deeper meaning. I think that's what they mean. However, it's not the first time they've said something, and it's not the first time they've meant something, and it certainly wouldn't be the first time that something else would happen quite shortly afterwards. So in this video, I'm going to give you some examples of Pellegrini, and I'm going to give you an example of Bilic. And because we can only really look at form under this ownership, I also want to discuss that the ownership dynamic has changed slightly. Also, maybe we go back a little bit further and maybe have a look at Sam Allardyce just to demonstrate how things have changed. Now, you may well remember the infamous meeting at David Sullivan's house to discuss Sam Allardyce's future. Sullivan was in attendance. Well, you'd hope so. It was in his own house, right? Sullivan was there, Brady was there, Gold was there. And I do remember it because someone was protesting outside the house at the time as well. Anyway, I held up a big banner, if you remember, right by the gate. However, I think a lot of us thought that Allardyce was going to get the sack in that meeting. It didn't happen. What did happen in that meeting, and this may trigger your memory if you don't remember it so far, was he basically had an attacking coach forced upon him. We were struggling to find the back of the net. So if you remember, Teddy Sheringham was employed as our attacking coach. Maybe that's triggered it in your mind. You probably remember it already. It was the beginning of the end anyway, which you can sort of understand. But here's my point. Not that gives us any great example. My point is, at that point, it was very much a decision which was Gold, Sullivan and Brady, the three Davids, if you like. Sorry, bad joke. We're deciding it. It's not like that anymore. The composition of the board is so much different now. So whilst I do think that one of the three that I've already mentioned have given a statement to two or three trusted websites and newspapers, I'm not sure that the person leaking this gets to make all of the decision anymore. So that's the first thing. Let me just deal with a couple of similar articles before, and I will maybe cast your mind back to November 15th, 2019. Pellegrini on safe grounds as Irons eye the window. West Ham are set to back Memo Pellegrini in the winter transfer window when two new arrivals are planned. Calls to the manager and director of football's heads will go unheeded in the boardroom as the club look at available players in the winter window. It says the club are looking at goalkeeping options following the dreadful start to Roberto. Remember him? Roberto's dreadful career, whilst the manager is also believed to be looking at left-sided defensive options. It basically goes on to say that there's a decision by the board to stick with the manager and his director of football. There's more to it. That's basically the article. November the 15th. Pellegrini was gone 6 weeks later. So my point being is, you can't read everything. Now, I do believe at that point that they did choose to back him. Here's my other point, which is if you carry on losing, you're going to go. And that's what I think the situation we're in. So I just think it's worth taking everything with a little pinch of salt. There's a lot more to come in this video. By the way, before I do go any further, this video is sponsored by the OneFootball app, which you can download by clicking the link below. The OneFootball app is the best place to keep up to date with all the West Ham news. Say the West Ham news. It's international break. You can keep up to date with the West Ham news and the England news because you can tailor the app to your own specifications. It can be bespoke. When you download it and it is free, you can say, I follow West Ham, I follow England, and then all it will do is it will go searching around the internet, around the newspapers for all of the news pertaining to those two subjects, put them all into one place, deliver them to your phone. It's the OneFootball app. Check it out. The link is in the description below. If you please do click that link, use that link down there. They'll know you've come from Hammers Chat, and that'd be really good for us. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so want another one? Well, you get well, even if you answered no, you're getting one basically. Hammers respond to Bilic out rumours. Reports that West Ham are looking at possible managerial candidates to replace Slaven Bilic this winter have been emphatically denied by the club. It goes on. This goes on, I mean, without reading everything like I did with the Pellegrini one. Yes, you've guessed it. Bilic was out within 5 weeks of that. So we're seeing a theme here, aren't we? We're seeing something that's happening. Now, to be fair, all I'm saying is things didn't get better in those. If David Moyes does get improving, does get better, this won't happen to David Moyes, I think. And by the way, I've not forgotten about the David Moyes video and the positives. It's just basically this news came out there, so I'll do that video on David Moyes and how I think he can save us from the dreaded R words. I'll be doing that video tomorrow. And thank you for everybody, by the way, that's posted in the comments in yesterday's video. I always get confused because anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's that. We got a little situation going on here, and when I say we got a little situation going on here, we got a manager at the moment who's probably looking to try and get the best out of his new signings. And the best out of the new signings are important because I'll give you another historical example. The reason they're important is because it's not just Gold Sullivan and Brady who have been part of the process of bringing these new players in. Basically, when you get world-class players, you are under scrutiny. Rewind back, if I may, to a certain Alan Pardew. You will remember Mr. Alan Pardew at Upton Park with a Carlos Tevez and a Javier Mascherano next to him, holding up the old shirts, looking like the cat that got the cream. That's him. He's basically Tevez there, Mascherano there, or something like that. They might have been swapped over. Can't honestly remember. Now, it was all part of, if you remember, without going into too much detail, the move was facilitated, lubricated, some might say, by agent extraordinaire Kia Jarabchin, who also wanted to buy a part in the club. Forget about all of that. It ain't that important. Point of the matter is Alan Pardew had two world-class players. Didn't know what to do with them. And then so what he did is he basically stuck with his original players, basically. It was, he stuck with the players who had done well for him. And let's be fair, he had got to a cup final. He's been a good manager. I enjoyed the time under Alan Pardew, actually. That being said, there was a massive reluctance to incorporate Tevez or Mascherano into his team. And in the end, it was used as a reason to get rid of him. I understand, under different ownership, but I just make that point. Okay, so let's talk about this ownership a little bit now. Kretinsky's going to have a massive part to play in this and in the final decision. It ain't just Gold, Sullivan and Brady, Sullivan Towers making this decision. It's going to be done proper. That's what's going to happen now. It's going to be a proper boardroom, proper board meeting. If you're under any illusion about that, I'm going to point you in the direction of another article. JP Morgan, man, appointed to West Ham United board. This is recent. This is August 25th, 2022. So less than a month ago. Less than a month ago. Basically, somebody that was on the board at JP Morgan has been appointed to West Ham United's board. It's one of those boring articles that slips under the radar because it ain't as juicy as who we're looking to sign at that particularly given time. But it's a very, very important bit of news. West Ham shareholder Daniel Kretinsky has appointed senior executive JP Morgan to the West Ham United board of directors. I can't say his name. I'm so sorry. I'm not even going to try. I don't know. It's not enough vowels for me to try and pronounce that name. Basically, Kretinsky's right-hand man, Horsky, if you remember, he stepped down to join the West Ham United operations board, whilst the JP Morgan guy went on to the main board of directors at the West Ham United Limited Football Company board. Okay, that's some serious stuff. That's having your fingerprints all over the club. That's basically saying, okay, I'm right-hand man, I'm going to put him down to operations. That's not like surgery. It's not like surgery or anything like that. It's not anything like that. No, it's what that is the running, the financial running of the club. This is the logistics of the club, not actually the football side. But basically, a big hitter, a high flyer from JP Morgan has been appointed to the big boy board. Okay, that just goes to show you how much of an influence Kretinsky is having. So when it does come down to this old regimented, but basically this old way that Gold Sullivan and Brady have of doing business, which probably they've been doing going back to their Birmingham City days, that's just not going to happen anymore. There's going to be a proper board meeting with bankers and executives and solicitors and all. There's going to be different people present here in this board meeting. It's not going to be a cup of tea and a Tunnock's tea cake and everybody have a decide and David Sullivan gets the final word. That's not what's going to happen here. So just to go back to the original point of the video, which is David Moyes is 100% safe. I'm not entirely sure that is the case. I don't think he's going to get unlimited time. I think he's got probably a finite period of time to get it right. And I'd imagine he probably knows that. And I do wonder, and somebody made the point in the comments in yesterday's video, and I do apologise because I haven't got it up to hand here, and I can't tell you exactly who said it, but you'll know who you are as soon as I say it. And I did reply to you in the comments. I think it's a really, really good point. And what the poster said was he does wonder if Moyes had dithered and he delayed for so long in the transfer window that it got near the end. And basically the board said, look, we've got some money here. We need to invest it. You've got a depleted squad. You're going to need to buy players. And basically forced him to buy players. And because of that, David Moyes knows the pressure's on. And because of that, they might not have been exactly who David Moyes wanted to bring in. Which would perhaps explain why he doesn't really know how to implement and utilise everybody there. I don't know whether that's the case, but I just, you know what, when I read it, I thought it does sort of make sense. Because this is the thing, just by looking at the people that have been appointed to the board, just by looking at how still Kretinsky is looking to increase and adjust his portfolio, his shares portfolio at the moment, not just in West Ham, but in the Royal Mail, in Sainsbury's, in everything, Foot Locker. He's constantly on the move. He's constantly doing stuff. We're a corporate entity now. We really are. And there's no doubt about it that David Moyes is going to be feeling that sort of corporate pressure there. So I just found it really interesting. I just thought it was, when I read the article and read it on a few websites, read it in, I think it was in the Evening Standard as well. I thought, I'm not so sure about this. I'm really not so sure. As ever, the answer to all of this is to win some football matches. David Moyes will know that, and that's what he's got to do. And also, there was a really nice post which was on yesterday's video explaining why somebody thinks he will pull us out of this, and basically giving some mitigation for the games that haven't gone our way this season. So thank you very much for everything that you sent in. I'm going to be going through it tomorrow, looking through and taking some of those posts and having a look at some of the positives and why David Moyes is the man to get us out of this predicament, this bit of a pickle here. And I guess they're right in that sense, aren't they? They're right that, in terms of digging us out of a relegation situation, there's probably, nobody better at doing it than David Moyes. I'll tell you something, there's nobody better at doing it at West Ham than David Moyes. He's already done it twice with us. I think where that argument probably doesn't hold that much water is with the new ownership and the new board members who probably think, well, we don't care if he saved you from relegation before. We've bought shares value in this club at 600 million. We've just seen 180 million pumped in players. We weren't into this for a firefighting exercise. We weren't into this to see us not get relegated. That's not the club we bought into. We bought into a club on the up, and maybe that's where the pressure comes from. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow.